guys give me if I kill that bird? Barbara, that's a bald eagle. Get away, Baldy! Yeah!
No! Well, good evening, and good evening. This is The Wort with Mike, Pete, and Steve, GovsRadio.com. We are live tonight on GovsRadio.com. We're also live on Facebook and on YouTube, so check it out on the Govs Comedy Club radio channel. Tonight, we have an exceptional program for you. But before we do that, we need to go and talk about our sponsors. We're going to kick it off with Rosie's Giraffe Solutions. Steve, take it away, my friend.
All right. Rosie's Giraffe Solutions is a Long Island family-owned business that provides professional draft beer system services, line cleanings and maintenance, draft beer line system installs, event dispensing solutions, and more. They are very passionate about craft beer and making sure it has the same quality as when it left the brewery, which is only done by one way, making sure those draft systems are perfectly clean.
Squeaky.
Rosie services bars, restaurants, halls, events, and all other beverage establishments, including home kegerator system installs and maintenance. They service the likes of WA Meadworks, Blue Point Brewing, Darling Brewing, 1940s Mauritius Field, and our buddies over at Hopscotch Bottle Shop, just to name a few. You can reach them at Rosie's Draft Solutions at gmail.com or call them at 631-219-2075 Monday through Sunday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Mention the Wort for some special discount.
That's right. Give Nick a call. Tell him the Wort sent you. Receive 10% off your hardware or your service needs. Go to rosiesdraftsolutions.com. Pete, take it away with our friend and what we're about to drink tonight. Exciting Beer Maker.
Beer Maker, all grain at-home brewing system on your countertop or your kitchen island or in your man cave, wherever you want to brew beer. We brewed beer. We're going to drink it tonight and see how good it is. The next beer is already ready. It told me in the app.
Yep.
Really simple to do. A lot of fun. Plenty. There's they have their own recipes. You can make your own recipe and do it DIY. They have they sell grains and yeast as well as hop varieties that are compatible with their system. Or you can go on to any homebrew shop, buy your own ingredients. Mention promo code The Wort and get some money off your own. A lot of fun.
That's right. Go to Beer Maker on Instagram, on Facebook, and again, type in the promo code The Wort, THEWORT, no space there, and receive 10% off your order. And thank them for sending us this awesome little contraption that makes it fun to brew right in your home. Very easy, as he said. And
crazy. It's crazy.
It's crazy. And we're going to do a lot of different shit with this thing, so we're going to have a lot of fun with it. So thank you to Beer Maker. They're actually going to be on the show in 2 weeks, guys. So that's going to be fun to talk to them about all the ins and outs of that. Couple other sponsors we want to talk about, of course, Brew Bag. It's getting warm out there. I almost was tempted to whip out the brew bag and put it in the backyard.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about beer pong cornhole, folks. This is an awesome drinking game that you can enjoy in your backyard. Hashtag yard games. Go to brewbag.com or go to our Instagram, and in our bio is a link to your private discounted webpage. Go to brewbag.com or go to our Instagram and get yours today. Also sponsored by VintageBeerShirtClub.com. VintageBeerShirtClub.com for your vintage beer shirt logo t-shirts on a subscription basis, or buy one. Buy 1,000. I don't care. But when you go there, make sure you type in the promo code WORT, W-O-R-T, for your discounted VintageBeerShirtClub.com. And tell them the Wort sent you. And, of course, just a couple honorable mentions really fast. I want to thank Mark over at Hopscotch for everything he's been doing. Shout out to Tap Handles. What was the other one, Pete? Brewers Hardware. Why did I?
Brewers Hardware.
Why did I forget about Brewers Hardware?
Fuck?
Yeah, I know. It's one of those ones that just slips by every week. I got to put them on our lower third. I think that's what it is. I don't see it on the graphic, and I forget. So go to brewershardware.com, type in the promo code WORT, W-O-R-T, and get your discount today. Wort. All right, folks, here we go. It's a lot of things to get through, but it only took a few minutes, 5 minutes. Probably one of our fastest so far. And tonight, like I said, we have an extravaganza for you. Check out who's on this Zoom today. Most amount of boxes we've seen since college. We'll just say it that way, all right? So this is a tremendous representation of Long Island homebrewers. I want to introduce to you all the guys first, and then we're going to go around and talk to each one individually and discuss stuff, and then we'll open it up and we'll all hang out and talk discuss beer and whatnot. So first, I'm going to introduce the boys over at LIBME. We got Greg. What up? Where's Greg Kelly? Where'd he go? There you are. What up, Greg? We got Justin. And, of course, Ryan. Ryan, right he is, in his dungeon basement thing that we were making fun of before the show. From the Homebrews and Hand Grenades, representing Nassau County. Is this how I really supposed to break this out, Steve? It's really like Nassau, Suffolk, Eastern Suffolk kind of thing?
Yeah, they're
not
Long
really
Island
regional.
boys.
There's no boundaries, per se.
No.
But, all right.
No.
All right, well, we got Bernard. Bernard is hanging out with us. What's going on? We got Kevin. Kevin's here. And Ken joined the program right at the last minute. Boom. Love it. Thanks, Ken, for hanging out. And representing Beer Brewers East End Revival, I have Justin right up there. What up, Justin? How are you? Guys, again, thank you very much. It was a whirlwind week, of course, getting beer from you guys, giving beer back to you guys, trying to get T-shirts out to you and everything. So many places to go, so many people to see. But thanks again for taking the time out tonight on the Mets home opener to be with us and to hang and talk beer for a little bit. And if you're a Yankees fan, then I think they have the night off, don't they? Yeah, they might. So
What's terrible is they just took DeGrom out. He blew out his elbow.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't you dare. And here's the first pitch, and the season is over. Love that clip from Family Guy. It's great.
Family Guy.
I want to go around and talk a little bit about a history of these organizations because, like I said, they've been around for quite some time. I don't know which one's the oldest, but we'll find out here in this little round table. Let's start with you, Greg. LIBME. You and Justin and Ryan can unmute and just go ahead and tell us everything you guys have about the history of the organization, what you guys do, the representation, the membership, all that stuff, all the good stuff.
Yeah, I'll start off by saying now that you guys are homebrewers, LIBME is always looking for new members. So
you invited us before. This isn't the first invitation we've received.
So LIBME is not the oldest club. I'll wait until that organization speaks on Long Island. But we have been around for just about 14 years at this point.
Wow.
So we got a long-standing tradition here. In terms of what we are, we're not only a homebrew club. When we started, LIBME started as not only a homebrew club, but also just a craft beer enthusiast club.
Yeah.
So some of our members, although many of our members are home brewers, not all of our members are home brewers. We do have many people and many very active people within the organization that are just craft beer enthusiasts and like that our meetings are held at different craft beer bars or breweries or whatever it might be. One of our big things is we like to hold competitions throughout the year. So we do a big beer competition. Every year we do our Pro-Am, our club-only competitions. We do chopped competitions. We do brewers duels against each other and stuff like that. So we're really proud that at every meeting there's some sort of educational value where you walk out with some sort of tip, whether it be homebrewing tip or the organization itself, or just like when you're getting beer at a bar, like what you should be looking for. We've worked with a lot of major homebrewers around the world, I could say. Stan Hieronymus, John Palmer, Gordon Strong, Michael Tonsmere. We've had come in for different visits and lectures, and we've brewed beer. I had a chance to brew a beer with John Palmer 2 years ago at TBC through LIBME. And the other thing I'll say is just the amount of breweries on Long Island at this point that their infancy started. And I'm going to say all of these organizations, but I'm really proud to say how many people started up their home brewing, or not started their home brewing, but had part of their adventure before they went commercial. How many of those people came on through LIBME and all the other clubs around Long Island. So this is where it all gets started for many people. So if you guys want to check out more about us, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and also don't forget, check out our website, LIBME. Over to somebody else who might be the oldest club on Long Island. So,
Justin, something to add to that? What Greg was saying?
No, that was a lot.
Yeah,
I didn't know half of that. I learned a lot just now. Just kidding.
Every time.
No, I'm a fairly new member to LIBME. I got active pretty quickly, and I can say that I take everything like to absurd levels when I get involved in it, and LIBME has really helped enhance that for me, and it allowed me to learn a lot more. One of the things I love that I became is being a part of LIBME is being a beer judge. I'm very passionate about not judging beer, but describing beer. Like I'm not the judging part's kind of like secondary to sitting down and describing it. And when you learn to become a beer judge, you learn how to start describing things and thinking about it. And that's the coolest part about drinking beer. I mean, everybody here before I drank something, be like, oh man, this tastes really great. I get this, and someone will say a word, and you go, oh yeah, that describes exactly what I'm tasting. And that's the most fun part to me. And that kind of also speaks to what Greg was saying, where we're not just a homebrew club, we're an enthusiast club.
Does that also give you the opportunity to judge people on a personal level?
Yes. I was always very good at that, so that's why I gravitated towards it so much.
Justin
seems like a natural progression.
Yeah. Justin has taken on the honors the last 2 years of hosting one of our favorite traditions in LIB, and hosting the Stein Brew that we do every year. So, Justin, you want to give a little insight as to what Stein Brew is?
Stein Brew.
Yes. So we brew like Vikings. Basically, everyone comes to my yard, gets really drunk, has a great time, and then I clean up. It's sort of what happens. No, all kidding aside, we mash in kind of in a normal way, like in a brew in a bag situation with a cooler. Like the mashing part's kind of normal, like modern stuff. And then we put it all into like an old wine barrel, and we start a giant fire, heat up Belgian blocks, and we keep dipping the hot Belgian blocks in until we bring it to a boil. And then we boil it for however long we feel like boiling it for, and usually too long, and we end up with an ashy hot mess. And then we drink it 2 months later, wonder why we're drinking it, and just can't wait to do it again the next year. Basically, I will say once it started happening at my house, it started tasting a little bit better. I'm not sure why that is.
You have these special Belgian blocks.
Oh yeah, no, it's a fantastic day. And one of the things that I love about that, not only that day, but a lot of the other things, is as times move on, we have a Tri-Club membership you can add on to. The acronym spells something great. It's ASLIC, Association of Wine and Homebrew Clubs, and I'm super proud of the fact that I know every single person on this call right now is a member of the Tri-Club, and we try to do a lot together as well as separate.
Nice.
Do you mean like paving stones, like Belgian block paving stones?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wild.
You want to do it, Pete?
Sure.
You're down for burning stuff.
Come on down. It's usually towards the end of October.
There you go.
We get to listen to Amon and Marth while we're doing it, brewing like Vikings.
Justin, while I have you talking here, you also have your own podcast that we talked a little bit about when Steve's actually closing that day. We were discussing a little bit, and I saw you've been around for a long time doing that. Give us a little breakdown of that. So
me and two of my close friends, Kevin and Mark, we started a podcast called Beer Test and Voyage to kind of focus on Long Island brewing and those events and things like that. We haven't been doing it since the pandemic. It was a little difficult at first. So we started doing these other like bracket type podcasts that we've since moved to a different podcast that's going to be released soon.
Nice.
But that's honestly where I didn't brew or drink beer really before I started doing that podcast. And I vividly remember Mark breaking out the BJCP guidelines and going, we should read these and learn them. And I'm like, yeah, no. And then now I have large swaths of it memorized. But when we with that podcast, our main goal was to just highlight beer. That's we would go around and purchase the beer from different breweries and discuss them and get local brewers on. It was our way of learning more about beer ourselves, as well as introducing hopefully a larger group of people to the beer scene on Long Island. Yeah,
I think we had a very similar journey or goal there. And I remember listening before we started ours to your Dubco interview, which was awesome, and got me really amped to see what was coming from Dubco, thinking about their expansion, doing all the stuff that they were discussing years ago, and now here it is, exactly what we wanted from them. Chris and the guys over there, and John, do a great job, and you guys had them on. It was fun. I actually really liked that one, and I learned a lot. This is before we started doing our show, and Pete, same thing. We weren't brewers either, and we got into this just to kind of figure out what everything is. We knew we liked craft beer. We knew I would travel to go find craft beer, but we didn't know much about it. So this again set us off on that journey. So the information and knowledge that we've learned along the way by interviewing all you guys and all those guys is just phenomenal. And the stuff that we've soaked in to the point where now we're brewing in a machine. But it's great. And we've realized something big, that everyone in the beer community is fantastic. They're really great people, willing to talk and hang and network and host and all that stuff. And it's one of those things that, really brought us into the scene even further, just because of the camaraderie going within the homebrewers clubs, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, there's everyone on here I've brewed with or drank with or gotten carried home by or something. So it does foster a strong sense of camaraderie to be, especially a lot of these events. I mean, things go wrong at the events. Like you need a part, you need something, and you just turn around and anybody here is going to try to help you get it.
Yeah.
Or some random homebrew club from Saratoga when you're at NHC and you literally have no draft lines.
Yeah. Oh, no. They didn't make it in the shipping?
Well, no, there were issues with our line system that needed to get fixed. The quickest way was new lines. We could have done without them, but somebody literally stepped up and gave us new lines. It was great.
Wow. Boom. So even beyond the local area coming in. Ryan, what else to add to LIBME?
So yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Justin, a relatively new member, but it's just amazing the wealth of knowledge that the membership has and the things that that come out of the brew community. And Greg was talking about like Chopped and stuff, some of the fun competitions. I don't think he mentioned our LIBME talks, which is a fun little basically it's just a webcast that we do once a month and interview local people. Like we just had for Women's Month, we had from MFR Sales Mariah, and we had Lori Spitz on with Matt, and some very prominent non really brewer members are very much enthusiast contingent of the club. They hosted and did a bunch of interviews and stuff, so it's a lot of fun. There's so much, it's impossible to really name all the things we do.
Yeah. And you guys, we've been to one of your meetings. Pete and I were broadcasting live at Secatog that night and had a great time. Greg, you came on the show, people taking a look at everything. It was very cool to see how you guys kind of do things very official. You kind of going through your steps of your meetings. You have an agenda. You have like a handout. You know what you're looking at. You know what needs to be discussed. I think, Greg, you were voted president that night. Is that still current?
I think that was his first meeting. Isn't that what it was? It was his inaugural meeting.
And now you're president.
No, it wasn't my first meeting of the club. It was I don't think that was that the night I got voted in? It might have been. I don't even know. But yes, I am currently still serving as president.
Yeah, it was like I said, it was a really excuse me. It was a really
beer.
Yeah, I'm actually cracking. We cracked our beers, right, Steve?
Oh.
Yeah. If you guys want to drink along, we can talk about it later. I only had here's the deal. We only had a few of these to hand out because of it only yields about 1.5 gallons, and then with the particulates in the bottom, the foam that all that, you got a lot of waste. So we only had 6 total little grenades here to give out, and we only got 1 out to each of you. So I apologize for the guys that are like second and third chair to the people that I met up with. But yeah, when we maybe brew this at a larger capacity, we'll get you guys some, and we'll have a good time drinking. A couple people really quick checking in on Instagram. Jonah Gold's checking in. My wife's checking in. Butch73.
Checking up on you.
Yeah, really. She's like, you're really in the basement, right? Brianna Liz is checking in. Crooked Brew saying what's up. Captain Awesome's here. Hey, Motion is saying hello. We want to get to those guys because we had them on the show a few weeks ago. Beers Planning, and our buddy Rob over at West Babylon Superstar is saying hello. So just wanted to say hello to them as we are kicking in live with Instagram now. So, Greg, really quick, just not to, kind of, I don't want to wrap it up with you, but I just want to throw out there, what else is going on? What else is coming up in the near future for the organization?
Yeah, at this point, we're just excited for festivals to come back because a lot of us, that's some of our both favorite and least favorite parts of being a member of the club.
Yeah.
When festivals are going on, it's great to be able to creation and serve it to the public. It's something that we get to do it with our friends usually, where my friends will come over and they happen to come over with 2 empty growlers and they leave with 2 full growlers. Like stuff like that always happens. But your friends are always going to tell you your beer is good because they're getting free beer from you.
It's true.
It's nice to go out to the public too. People who truly enjoy craft beer, especially at the beginning of a festival.
Yep.
No, listen, especially at the beginning of a festival, and certain festivals, of course, are better than others in terms of the crowd. But it's really nice to get that true feedback from the public and not being a professional brewer and not selling it commercially, but being able to get that feedback. So that's one of the big things that we're super excited about. And then we have Big Brew Day coming up, which all the organizations are going to be a part of. So that happens the first Saturday in May of every year. So
nice.
We're getting ready to do that, and we're partnering with Blue Point Brewery again.
Ooh, there you go. I know the first time that I even heard of all your organizations was at beer festivals. So one of the early ones were the ones at Nassau Coliseum that I know a lot of you guys partake in at least once or twice a year. And then, more recently, the one that was over at Heckscher 2 years ago, non-pandemic 2019. And, there was a good showing. And again, a lot of breweries came out of these organizations. I want to move on really quick to Bernard. Bernard, how are you, buddy? Thanks again for joining us and meeting me up for some beer trading there. So give us a little breakdown about the Homebrews and Hand Grenades organization and all the good stuff involved with that.
Sure. We're the youngest club out of the 3 of us here, so that narrows it down. Beer is the oldest of us. Club's been around since 2014.
Yep.
And Ken's actually one of the 4 founders of the club, so he'll probably jump in some of his stories. But the club started out of the Hand Grenades homebrew shop that Peter Tripp ran in Baldwin on Grand Avenue. The club at this point has actually outlasted the homebrew shop, just it's a side effect of market conditions. But the group a lot of them started at LABME beer and meetings. Used to travel out from Nassau County, Western Queens, Eastern Queens, and go out to Suffolk, which gets a little tough during midweek after work. And so they was looking for something a little bit closer. When the shop opened, there were a lot of bottle shares and events, classes, BJC classes. All the names that Greg name dropped there were in that shop as well for us, and kind of going through everything about homebrew. And within a year of the homebrew shop opening, the club started. We started to explore some of the craft beer establishments around Nassau County. Suffolk definitely had more breweries at the time, and Nassau is still growing, and still some new breweries actually hopefully will be opening in the next few months actually in the middle of Nassau. And the club just got together and followed suit, teaching homebrew, inviting anyone to join the craft, sharing is caring. When we get together, everyone's bringing what they brewed, talking about recipes. And one of the big things that I think are important to many of the members of our group are experimenting with all sorts of styles. Brew what you love, and bring it out there. We definitely miss those festivals. A lot of feedback, a lot of encouragement on pushing the envelope, things that you're going to get small batch that you can't really brew at a commercial brewery, and that's the joy of homebrewing.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, in 2014, like you said, when you started, I'm going to say there was probably maybe a handful of breweries in Nassau County at that point, right? I mean, Oyster Bay was probably the one,
Yep.
and then Barrier, and what else am I missing?
Barrier was the home base at the time. Yeah.
And now you got
the club mainly started out of southwestern Nassau. A lot of the clubs from Oceanside, Baldwin.
Right. Oh, so that's where a lot of the membership is, and now you got what was it, Lost Farmers opening up there in Middle Nassau.
Yep.
And there's another one, isn't there? Is there a second one opening up soon? I know Bright Eye opened up.
Popped up in Farmingdale. Bright Eye's in Long Beach.
Yeah.
South Shores in Oceanside.
Right.
On the other side of Tracks Barrier. Yeah, there's Long Beach Brewing. There's
Brew SA.
Barnshed, Brew SA.
Yeah, Barnshed.
Brew SA,
right.
Noble Savage, Garvey's Point, Old Tabin.
Yeah, you can't forget those Glen Cove people all the way up in the hamlet. Take a bridge to it. And
even
North
South.
Savage.
Yeah.
Noel
Nassau to
Savage.
Suffolk
Yeah.
was big. Going north to south in Nassau becomes an issue too. So.
Yeah, yeah, because South Shore to North Shore takes forever, and at the middle of the county start popping up. The problem is, as most people know, Nassau County's taxes are through the roof, so it's very difficult. Plus, you got your water and your wastewater and stuff like that you got to worry about. So a lot of factors that go into it. It's going to be hard to find it without a business area really trying to come down on you or trying to take you for all you're worth.
Yeah, it definitely takes quite a while to go through that process. I know some of these guys worked really hard in launching their dreams.
Yeah, it's tough. Kevin, give us a little bit about yourself and how you became involved with the Homebrew Club.
Sure. So I've actually been a home brewer for probably close to 22, 23 years now.
Wow.
But I ended up joining the club in 2018. I'm going to kind of parrot what some of the other guys have said, tagging on to what Greg said. When you're a home brewer and you're giving your beer to all your friends and family, everybody's going to tell you, oh, yeah, this beer is really good, even when it's not. So for me, the impetus of joining the club in the first place was to start getting some of that, non-biased feedback on the beer. And, I can tell you it's definitely made me a much better brewer. Just, being able to bring beer to the meetings and have, beer judges be able to taste it, tell you what's right, tell you what's wrong. I've been lucky enough. I've brewed with Justin and Greg, learned from brewing with them, made a lot of good friends in the club. Shout out Chris Cerny, shout out John DeSpirito. Brew a lot with those guys, have learned from them. And it's definitely a real good sense of camaraderie. I mean, there's a bit of rivalry, I'd say, amongst all the three clubs. But at the end of it all, I think we're all, we've all become pretty good friends out of it. So, if nothing else, that's been one of to me, the biggest positives of getting into the homebrew community on Long Island is I've made a lot of good friends.
And you've seen, like you said, you've been in there brewing for a very long time. What's the biggest standout change you've seen over the course of the last, let's say, even just 10 years on Long Island with brewing?
Again, it's kind of tagging on to what Ryan said. I think, the knowledge of everybody that's out there that's a home brewer, and the willingness of people to be able to share that knowledge with you. It's 15, 20 years ago, I was like, kind of felt like, okay, I'm a man unto myself. I'm making my own beer, but I didn't really know anybody else who was doing it. So I think just being able to get, the popularity of the three clubs and the camaraderie of the three clubs, just that sharing of information is made a world of difference.
Yeah. I mean, that's got to be the one draw for most people that want to, venture into home brewing, what that can bring not only just to your brewing ability, but also you making new friends. I mean, really, this 100%. Show, I knew Pete before the show, but we became much better friends. And, of course, with Steve joining on in the last year and a half, we become all good friends. And it's just that camaraderie that goes along with just spending enough time with each other. Seems to be a very big draw, for sure. Ken?
I mean, one of the things Greg was talking about, like, I think we're all saying the same thing. We're looking forward to the festivals coming back.
Yeah.
I'm the event coordinator for Hand Grenade, so last year was my first year on the job, and it was the easiest job anybody ever had. This festivals
hardest working guy in the club.
Yeah, this festivals kept getting canceled left and right.
Yeah.
So I had to pick up new jobs. Like Justin can attest to this. I'm the beer. For a long time I was the beer mule on Long Island. As people were bringing beers to competitions in Queens. There's a big competition up in Connecticut where my parents live. So I'd throw out on Facebook like, hey, everybody, if anybody's entering, Hudson Valley, I'm going up to Connecticut. Give me your beer. I'll bring it in and enter it for you.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, I'm going to Fifth Hammer to turn in for Homebrew Alley. So, listen, I mean, everybody will pay it forward. I've gotten back for what I've given in. So
there you go.
It's worth it.
Ken, a little bit about your experience with the Homebrew Club.
As one of the Hand Grenades founders, like before we started the club, I was a LIBME member. I was, a beer enthusiast, since the 90s. I mean, I remember when I was in college for one of my finals, I did a beer magazine. I took a ride out to Brooklyn Brewery in 98 or 99 and, interviewed people there, took pictures, that was like the feature article in my project and everything. So I've been into it forever and started homebrewing. I think when the Brewmaster show popped up on Discovery, I was like, was like, I was like, let me see, take a look around and see if there's a way I can try it out. And Brooklyn Homebrew had just opened up. So I took a ride out there with a buddy. I'd gotten a check from my aunt for my birthday. So I took a ride out, and we showed up early in the morning. We grabbed a couple of kits worth of stuff and drove back home and started one up the next day. And within 2 months or so, I was at Nassau Coliseum, like you brought up. And I believe it was LIBME was there pouring. I just started chatting with a lovely tall gentleman named Rich Thatcher. And I spent a good, my wife's like, all right, we're going to go to the next booth. I was like, no, I got fucking 14 beers. I'm going to stand here and chat with this nice gent. And that was history. My first meeting was, I want to say January or February of 2011, probably the launch. It was the launch at Croxley's of GSB's Massive.
Wow.
And it was Adam's last meeting before he moved to Pennsylvania to start the meadery and all that. And so I've been around for a long time. And like Bernie said, we were, we would meet up at Pete's shop to carpool out to meetings. And, on the way there, on the way back, I'd be like, man, it's fucking hard to get out to Yap Bank on a fucking Wednesday night after work. Have one beer and turn around and come back.
Yeah.
I didn't get to talk to at least 9 out of the 14 people I wanted to talk to. So it was like, and we'd BS back and forth on the way. And wouldn't it be great if we could do this a little closer? And we were like, started shooting around the idea. Maybe we should try. Maybe we should, I think we approached Todd, who was the president at the time, about maybe doing a split off chapter. And he was like, I want to manage a fucking coalition of homebrew clubs. Just, I got my hands full enough with one. So, he gave us the blessing and we went off and we did it. So, and it's, I feel like, we started off, it was like, the runt of the litter and the little, the upstart.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you grew.
And,
I mean, after 2014, like Bernie was saying, things started moving. You guys started getting people in there that have now become brewery owners themselves. So you really, you always got to start grassroots, but then that's just, again, a show of kind of what the organization does for the community and draws in people, promotes people, gives them the hard work, and then gives them an opportunity.
Exactly. Like I said, it's community building, and it's really surprising when we did our 5-year anniversary party last year. I looked back at the picture at Barrier. I forget who it was. Somebody went climbing up on the top of their brew house on the deck to shoot down at everybody at our first meeting. And it's remarkable how many people from that first meeting have been, longtime members, are still active members, and have, from showing up to that first meeting, took a role and ran with it. And it's been awesome.
Cool. I mean, it's one of the, highlights of our beer community here on Long Island that people are able to kind of go with people with like interests and be able to explore those interests, grow as a community, and help be promoted, like you said, with your friends around you, being able to do the things you want to do.
Exactly. And like I say to people, like when we do events and people, might say, oh, well, I'm interested, but like, here you guys are, 3 clubs in a row serving 45 beers. Like, which club is for me? And I ask them, like, start with where you live and see where that takes you. Like, join, start with one club, go to a meeting or 2, see if you like it, do the tri club, and grow from there. Nobody's stopping you from jumping between all 3 clubs, getting involved at all times with all 3 of us. So,
I mean, you guys don't look at each other like, oh, he left ours and he went over there. No one really says that.
We're all.
You're probably just thinking.
Yeah.
Right? We don't say these things out loud.
Not to their face.
Right. You're cordial about it. You're like, oh, hey, so you moved over there? Okay, great. Good for you. Huh. Yeah. You brew anything better than what you did here? Oh, no? Okay. All right, good.
We've had people come, move across town, move across county, still come to these meetings. Some people that show up to our meeting for the first time and they'd be like, I've been going to their meetings for years and just thought I'd stop by. It's all
good.
I think the Tri Club was one of the best things we did all together.
I want to explore that, but let me get to Justin first. We're going to talk about Brewers East End Revival. Justin, give us a little history on the oldest brewing club here on Long Island.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so Brewers East End Revival started in 1996. I was definitely not around back then, but I joined the club in 2009. To me, what was really impressive about it was the fact that they were able to have this homebrew club, really at a time when there was nothing to really promote home brewing. There was no websites, there was no YouTube how-to videos. It was a very small, spread out community. So you really had to rely on learning from others and, going to the library, reading books about it, and just kind of trial and error. So when I joined, there was a lot of people that had been brewing. Some had, since moved away or, not brewing anymore. But, there was a lot of members that had been brewing for years before I even brewed my first batch. So it was a really positive experience to meet with a bunch of people that were novices like myself and, brewers that had won, NHC medals and, there was a lot of judges in the club, BJCP judges. So that's what caught me onto the club. What it attracted it to me. Like everyone else was saying, the big part of the club is doing competition, doing festivals. Obviously, hasn't been any in the last year, but previously the club was very involved in attending a lot of these festivals. We are having our 24th annual, well, not last year, but 24th annual Homebrew Contest.
That's crazy.
So that'll be in May 22nd. Will be the award ceremony on Facebook.
And
So
what
that's
is
coming up.
really quick? What is the entry level like? Just submit to? Is this? I mean, obviously it's held every year. So is this something where everyone kind of knows about all these organizations? Everyone knows the time, the date, what's going on? Something that's shared, I guess, on a central site, or is it through a Facebook group, I guess, or something like that?
It's on social media. It's also on the website, beerhbc.org, or if you go to Google search, just type in Brewers East End Revival. The drop-off sites are going to be at Carp's Hardware in Northport. Justin, you remember what the one in that? There's a
South Shore and
South Shore Craft Brewery and Belport Cold Beer and Soda.
Nice.
So
Dave's Cold Beer and Soda.
Cold beer,
Belport
Cold
Dave.
beers.
So I think it's also the longest running Long Island homebrew competition.
Yeah.
So it's good to be part of that. Keep it going.
And you guys,
obviously it's a little modified this year with COVID, but
now were you able to get it off last year?
Last year we did not.
Okay.
Yeah, we ended up having to cancel.
Yeah.
So it was just kept trying to push it back, and then it was just logistically we weren't really sure how to work it. And LIBME was able to have theirs, I believe, in November. So we kind of Justin's helping out. He's in both clubs, so he's kind of helping out, helping us work out the kinks as far as how to do it in a modified setting.
Right. Very cool. And so the Brewers East End Revival, I mean, obviously with the East End being the part of it, Eastern Suffolk, do you have mostly the membership from people out there, or is it a lot of people just kind of traveling or just, again, deciding on which club just works best for them?
I don't believe it's so much we're East End. I think it was just when they were thinking of club names. East End Revival made it spell out beer, so I think that's kind of what they stuck with it.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
When I joined,
this acronym.
the two primary meeting spots were Brickhouse and Patchogue and the old John Harvard's.
Okay.
And every once in a while we would go. Definitely in the last couple of years, there's been so many new breweries popping up. We've been kind of bouncing around locations. Fortunately, with the last year, we've been doing pretty much all our meetings on Zoom. Next 2 weeks, we're going to Belport Brewery for our first in-person meeting since November, I think.
Nice. So I'm going to go back around the table here on Justin. Can you just cite any of the home brewers that have since or recently or even the last, so many years the club has been around that have opened their brewery after they've gone through the experience of home brewing?
I know Adam from Upper Reach was mentioned. He was a member for a while. Bobby from Po' Boy.
Yeah.
I want to say, I believe Mike from Port Jeff at one point was a member.
Ah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Steven!
Yes.
Steven was. Were you a Tri-Club member, Steve?
I was I still remember it vividly. I was at Nassau Coliseum. I was already a home brewer, but I brewed by myself with a buddy. Was never in a club or anything like that. And I'm in Nassau Coliseum walking around with the wife. and I see this little pop-up thing and these bunch of guys, Long Island beer and malt enthusiasts. I'm like, what the fuck is these guys? Who are these guys?
It's not a brewery.
And like, no brewery. So I walk over and I'm like, oh, what are you guys doing? They're like, oh, we're home brewers. And so they start giving me a bunch of different beer and I'm tasting them. And I'm like, holy shit, you know, where do you guys located? Where gave me, hey, next week is, you know, our club meeting and you're more than welcome. It's going to be at barbecue. And I was just like, you know, I'll stop in. That was in 2009, I want to say. And the key for me was I already had the idea in my head of opening a brewery, but like everybody else has stated here, friends and family suck because they will lie to you to your face just to get free beer.
That's not the only reason either.
So I
They'll just lie to you because they're family.
Yeah.
No, they suck for numerous reasons.
Oh,
yeah,
the suck part. Yeah,
there's
fair
more
enough.
than just that reason. But I wanted people to try my beer and get a real reaction from them other than my friends and family. So joined the club and, you know, I would have beer at these different events. Usually it was just the Coliseum or at the time it was Martha Clara. When we would
the Martha Clara one was great. I love that one.
Yep. And then what was pretty interesting, though, I mean, Matt and Laurie from Mustache were part of the group. Charles Becker from 1940s was part of the group.
Charlie.
Even Larry Goldstein from Spider Bite was part of the group. So a lot of people came out from Long Island Beer and Malt and still are. There's still, you know, guys looking to open up. You know, and from all the other clubs too.
Yeah.
We just had Motion on, you know, a week and a half ago. So, you know, there's still guys popping up from all over looking to get their beer out there and do it professionally after doing it for so many years in a group.
Yeah, that was our thought process. I was telling Greg today, like the three-part series, we'll have Motion on. Chris and Angel came from homebrewing and opened a brewery, so we got their story. And then we'd have all the homebrewers from the Long Island come on, and then it's not all of them, obviously, but we have the representation of all of them. And then we're going to talk about a homebrewing maker in 2 weeks, like I mentioned before. So I just thought it was a great kind of like, you know, run to that idea of centralizing and where people get started and being able to kind of move on from there. Bernie, and who came through the organization has recently opened up a brewery from your organization?
Ken can go back through the history, but the most recent was South Shore.
Yeah.
Nick and you came through the club.
Yep.
Peter Tripp is now brewing with them as well. And Pete's one of the co-founders of the club. We have Barnshed, Six Harbors.
That's right. Mark from Six Harbors, right?
Oh, yeah.
Forgot about that.
Short stints. I mean, like everyone kind of came in like when the club was young, but you know, I think hopped around between LIBME, Hand Grenades, beer. The whole tri-club concept was kind of always there. I mean, we always, once we got to festivals, we would tend to bore with each other and kind of hang out and talk and chat. And then there's a few others that are in process of trying to decide whether they want to take the leap or not.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Peace of mind, right, Steve? Peace of mind.
Right, AJ's over at Blue Point.
There you go.
When we started, TJ was working. He was at goodness. TJ was one of our founders as well. He's falling off.
Yeah,
falling off the earth, falling down an elevator. Let's say.
The bowling.
Yeah.
Where was he? He was working. I keep thinking Coney Island, but it wasn't Coney Island. Chelsea. He was working in Chelsea when we started.
Years, yeah.
Can't forget Michelle Pagano too. She just moved out to Oklahoma. Now she's head brewer and cider maker out in Oklahoma.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big jump from around here, but she had a lot of experience around here working with some of the breweries. And we said this a bunch of shows ago, a couple months ago. She's really good at marketing. I mean, really good at what she does on social media for what her brand is for her, but also then for the brands that she works for. And that takes a big leap. I mean, you guys all have social media presence. Is most of this kind of connection going on or networking going on in the social media nowadays, or is it still a lot more happening in person at the meetings? Bernie, I'll start with you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd say there's still a lot of in person, but the pandemic definitely drove us more online. We did have regular meetups and we continue those bottle shares, but virtually. We couldn't get together, but we jumped on the Zoom account and whether we were just sharing or discussing or just chatting, just making sure everyone's peace of mind with everything going on. But we definitely got to collaborate a bit more and chat, and everyone was kind of chomping at the bit to get back there. Festivals, meetings in person. We're still a little ways out from packing, brew pubs and restaurants where we bring 60 strong on a Tuesday night and have a meeting. So those days are close, but not that close. But the in person's always the king.
Yeah,
I feel like the events are usually the prime time for recruiting. Yeah. You get somebody like, oh, hey, I ordered something. I made a batch or two. I don't know how. My friend said it was good, but like everybody said, I don't trust them. But and it's like, well, bring your shit to us. We'll tell you if it's true.
I think one of the best photos that was out there was one of the best pics that we had was the Tri Club at Blue Point's Cast Fest 2 years ago, where we took up half the space, and when they called homebrewers together, it was like Avengers assemble around Greg Kelly. It was insane.
I mean, that's another place where, all these, not only the breweries can kind of show off their kind of homebrew concepts because it's small, one batch, lots of variant kind of stuff, trying to go extreme with it. You guys have always participated in that. I remember seeing it very early on, 2016, 2015, when it was held at the old Blue Point. Has that also been a huge part, is trying to get those festivals to really be the backbone of what happens within the clubs?
Well, I mean, it's huge for recruiting. It's huge for just getting our names out there to people that are interested in beer in general, but don't know anything about home brewing, but might get them a little more interested, might get them more inclined to go to some of the smaller, newer breweries, and just try new things, our main draw for doing events is, we get to pour whatever the hell we feel like, and we don't have to, in the end, we don't have to make any money off of it. So, as long as the keg kicks, we're happy. As long as I'm going home with it, as long as my cask is empty and I leave it at Blue Point, or my keg is kicked and I, can roll it back to my car, I'm a happy guy. So,
I know a bunch of the brewers at the festivals love the feedback from the public because they were going to go public, so they're getting live feedback. They really like that.
That's the best because they don't care about our feelings. Half of them, they're half drunk anyway, and they're just like, "Man, this is shit." And you're like, "Oh, man. What are you gonna do? I've been crafting this bitter recipe for 5.5 years. Shit, what am I gonna do?"
All you gotta do is show up with a hot dog beer.
Oh, there it is.
Here we go.
I knew the hot dog beer was coming. Was anyone here responsible for that? I don't recall.
That was him.
That was you. Oh, there it is.
It was me and my buddy Mark. You mentioned Blue Point Cast Fest that year where we assembled around Greg. That year for Blue Point Cast Fest, the same year we had done a nacho beer. That was like the talk of
I remember hearing about that.
We were having pro brewers like, did you guys have that nacho beer? We're like, yeah, it was really good. Like, we didn't want to be like, oh yeah, that's ours, or we didn't know how to respond to that. So we decided to do something else wacky. And we flew a little too close to the sun. And if I gave it to you and told you that it was a smoked beer, you would have been like, oh, this is a halfway decent smoked beer. The second that you plant the seed of hot dog in your mind, all you can think about is drinking liquid hot dog. There were no hot dogs.
Dirty water dogs.
The amount of people that ask you how much cheese is in the tortilla beer also.
That was funny. My response was that, I don't know, your fucking imagination. I didn't put cheese in beer.
They obviously
one of the big things with the festivals is how much the hosts from Starfish Junction to Blue Point to everywhere else that they embrace the homebrew clubs. I mean, like you mentioned earlier, it's a network, it's a family. I mean, we're all kind of like the homebrew clubs are like the stepchildren, but they allow us to play, and we get involved, and they take care of us. Yeah,
I mean, Starfish Junction has always been great to us. When we first hit the scene, they were immediately saying, yeah, you could broadcast at Nassau Coliseum. I'm like, really? Okay, well, let's do it. And we did it, 4 times, Pete?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was 3 or 4 times. I'm going to go with the 4th, and that was the last one because...
And you're right, they've always been super hospitable to us, whatever we needed.
Yeah. And we've seen a change there, though, too, and I don't think that's any of their fault. just because of what maybe you guys were saying, that the drinking customer has changed that goes to those festivals.
The clientele.
The clientele went from, for the first few years Pete and I were there, it was a craft beer community. And after the word got out to a lot of people, it ended up being just like you can drink for 4 hours straight and not have to. Okay.
Didn't we have to end the interview
with
Starfish Junction early last year because of a fight?
Yeah, there was a fight, and they removed the room, I think, and we're like, all right.
Session was always like,
yeah. It was great to see the succession of the first session. We're like, okay, cool, that was a good session.
Yeah.
Second session at night, oh boy, that late night. Oh,
run out to your car, to run across across Hempstead Turnpike to Starbucks between sessions, and on the way back, you're looking at the line, and there's literally dudes with 12 packs. Dude, you paid $60 to go drink for 4 hours. You're drinking a 12-pack before.
They're pre-gaming. That's not necessary.
It's like, holy cow.
Do you know what everyone's...
if the lines are long, they're,
Pre-call an ambulance?
It's an Uber ambulance.
Yeah.
A lot of those organizers want us to get there long before the festival begins.
Yeah.
So by the time the crowd comes in, we're all smiles already. So Blue Point Cast Fest usually starts at 1 PM, and they're like, guys, you have to be there by 10 AM.
Yep.
Like, yeah, you know what we're gonna look like by 1 PM? But
by the time we start.
All right, you want it?
That means drinking starts at 10:30.
Well, you know what was funny? Before they were bought out, we would start drinking at that cast festival 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
The last few years, they put a no drinking before, a certain hour, and
for us, yeah.
Yeah, well, we weren't drinking. No.
We're gonna wait for them to come hammer in on taps.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is my beer, right? This is my beer, and I'm not drinking anybody else. I'm drinking mine. Justin, you were going to say something before.
I was going to say I went to one of the Nassau Coliseum events. It was before I brewed anything for those events, but it was I was coming out of it, and as you're coming out of the basement of Nassau Coliseum, everyone's wasted. They had Disney on Ice coming down. At the same time. So I was like, it's just bad planning.
The Wiggles just played a concert. And they're like,
some of the better events were the smaller events that have come up, especially a lot of the charity events that we kind of gravitated towards. Those are, I think, more enjoyable for a lot of our members.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, the Martha Clara one, I seem to be still a craft beer drinkers place, and the Heckscher State Park still seemed like that. It wasn't quite to the level of what Nassau Coliseum has evolved to. But there are plenty more other festivals that are going on Long Island. We're going to go to the Bats and Brews before COVID, and that's one of the ones every people love to go to.
Taps and Talons.
Yep.
Whale Tails, Salty Tails.
My favorite too.
Oh yeah, that's also a great one.
Yep.
The Babylon Lions Club every year in November. Obviously not this year they didn't do it, but every November they have a charity event, and they always had beer as guests.
Nice.
And they have other vendors. But it's a food and wine festival, so they're just happy. They always appreciate us coming down. We always get about 4 to 5 beers brought down, but then in between they have all this food. They have wine vendors, they have whiskey vendors. So it's as someone who serves there, it's a great time to go. But it's just it's nice to be appreciated that they always seek out our club to come down to it every year.
And also a nice way to get the name out there, like we were saying before, the ability to kind of show people, there's this out there. If you're at all interested in the scene, come to a meeting, check it out, see what it evolves into. You never know. It could be the next great brewery on Long Island.
Especially for folks that don't usually go to beer events.
Right.
That it's a food and wine event, and beer happens to be there. So if they enjoy what we have, and what you're pouring, they might show up to an actual all beer event and really, enjoy that as well. We hooked up with that Pat from Killsborough from Pour Standards in Staten Island.
Love Killsborough.
Most years since they started, we've been going out to do Brew for Autism with them, which is awesome.
Brew for a Cure as well in Brooklyn.
They do, it's a fundraiser. They do baskets and raffles and all that stuff, and it's just great.
Now, what I'm probably not 100% on. Hey, Art Man is checking in. Art Man from Wild On with Art Man.
Oh, nice.
He's saying hello.
You are such a fanboy.
I am such a fan. Sorry, Art. I was always a big fan of you, buddy. You and Zane Lamprey are my two guys I just put on little pedestals here. Yeah. If it was Zane, I'd lose my shit right now, just so you know. Anyway, but I love Art, and I've talked to Art several times. And
we had him on the show.
We've had him on the show.
And then it got really awkward when he went on for 45 minutes.
No,
Brian from Bard Check.
Oh, that's right. Well, it got awkward for Brian. I didn't get awkward for Art. It didn't get awkward for me because I was loving every minute of Art talking. He has a lot to say, and it's awesome. He just has so many things to talk about. I wish we had like 4 hours just for him, and then I felt bad for Brian. Sorry, Brian. So yeah, I mean, what I was saying is there's the Nassau County, Suffolk County. And you guys were talking about, sounds like Zane. All right. Brooklyn, Queens. Did they have homebrew clubs like kind of what you guys are set up as, and does, again, cross over through the borders of Nassau and Queens?
They sure do. Brewminaries is a big one in the city area. They have the New York City Homebrewers Guild. I think there's another one in the city. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you guys, there's Zane. Hi, Zane.
It was Zane holding the man hands.
Oh, Zane holding man hands.
Oh, nice.
At the old Muggs Ale House, there used to be the Malted Barley Appreciation Society.
Ah, okay.
I think they were an enjoyment enthusiast, not a homebrewing club, but
okay.
I have been there for a couple of there.
And so here comes another question that we asked to TBC. But is that sort of in the same realm of what TBC was kind of all about? Being able to, the Brewers Collective being able to just bring in a number of different types of brewers and creating like a central spot where they can brew. Did you guys any of the organizations here ever think about doing something like that, or creating just like an incubator for most of what's going on here on Long Island?
Yeah, TBC originally was a homebrew club just like the rest of us. That decided, you know what, let's turn this into something more. And a couple of the people who were part of their homebrew club decided to go professional with it. And they started out with, I think, 7 guys originally. Then it went down to like 5. It was back up to 6. And then I think they're at like 4 or 5 right now or whatever it is. But all still the original people that were involved with it. So.
Yeah,
and they also started brewing out of the incubator that was
Lithology.
Yeah, with Lithology, Charlie in the 1940s, right? It was like 4 or 5 of them.
Yep.
Po' Boy.
Po' Boy was there, yeah.
Actually, Billy from Nightmare was in there also.
Wow.
Was he? Okay, cool. Yeah, and that was just what, like a rent-to-use kitchen kind of.
Yep.
But since brewers were interested,
what that place was a key for many of our friends that opened up breweries through that. And I work for Po' Boy myself, so I know how it worked out for Bobby in particular. But those people, it costs a lot of money to get started with a brewery because you have to have a lease for a piece of property in order to apply for the licenses.
Right.
And what that did is it allowed these people to get licensed without having to pay all this rent without revenue for so long. And then once they got licensed, it's a lot quicker to be able to just change the address on your license than to go through the initial licensing phase. So for TBC, for Po' Boy, for 1940s, for a lot of these guys, that was their key to success because they were licensed already. Then once they found their location, it was just really like filling out a change of address form.
Ah, okay.
I'm sure it was a little bit more than
so,
that.
Well, yeah, but it transferred over.
Who's is this?
Well, we are. Wait, Stephen, before we do that.
When do we start drinking some more?
First of all, we started drinking. When did you?
I started that shit already.
I started dinner. Hold on, time out. So, before you jump into that, it's in the 9 o'clock hour. Steve, do you want to go around and ask your 3 questions to everybody?
Okay.
I don't have a jingle yet. I will have a jingle,
quest?
I promise.
Thank you.
We'll start off with Greg, Justin, and Ryan. Go ahead, Steve. Give him your famous 3 questions.
All right. It's time for Steve's questions of the night. All right. So I'm going to give it to you one at a time. because usually when I do it 3 in a row and you get been drinking, everybody forgets even the first one and the second. But all right, so what was the first craft beer that turned you on to craft beer? What was that one that you said, something's going on here? I need to look into this, find what's going on here. This beer is awesome. This is something exceptional.
Greg?
Easy answer for me. It was Pete's Wicked Ale for me back in the day. Picking up on Pete's Wicked Ale,
Yes.
and then Pete's Wicked Ale slowly led into Newcastle. So like that was my transition with those two as the infancy of my craft beer love.
I do like a good Newcastle. That's the Nut Brown was one of the first
What a
ones
surprise.
in high school that I drank. I love a good brown.
Ah.
Hey, he's got a brown.
Well, this is actually a Newcastle clone
Ah.
from it's my homebrew. It's a Newcastle clone from a homebrews and hand grenades competition.
Ah. Justin?
So for me, it was Long Island was kind of my first local spot, and this is I would go with Mark and Kevin and have a beer there. I didn't know what the heck I was drinking, but I remember when they released Black Friday for the first time I was there. That was kind of my first local one, but it wasn't until I had Monk's Cafe Flemish Sour Ale in Philadelphia.
Wow.
And I was like, wait a second. So beer can be something completely not beer-like, and it's still beer. Those don't know it's mixed fermentation sour ale, which is basically it tastes more like apple cider than a beer. Most people's brains, like that would be closer to what that tastes like than a beer.
Yeah.
I had to go a little outside the ballpark, and then I started to reel myself back in.
That's the first time we've heard that one. That's a good one though. Ryan, what do you got?
So I guess really for me it would be going back to the first apartment, living walking distance from a package store in Connecticut.
A packy.
And you're going out of the packy, you get your liquor and your beer right there. But my roommates and I, we would go down and just grab a bunch of different beers. And the one that stuck out the most was always Magic Hat number 9.
Boom.
We took a
Nice.
smidge,
Boom.
went all the way up there to Mardi Gras in Vermont, but had a ball up there with that stuff. But yeah, most likely the Magic Hat number 1. That's I got a growler from them that I still kind of just sit there and put old caps in and stuff. But yeah, number 9's it for me.
Go.
I wish I had the ability to unfurl the entire Magic Hat flag. That I actually used to have Magic Hat on tap. That's why this was here. This was here just for Magic Hat when I first built the bar. And yeah, same thing. It was one of those ones I went, oh, number 9 has apricot. This is an apricot beer. Delicious ale. Delicious. Bernie, what do we got? First beer that turned you on. It didn't sound right. I take that back.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
I mean,
The first one was actually a homebrew. Neil Grimaldi is a business owner that I worked with, and now is a member of our club. And he had brought over, I didn't know you could make stuff at home at the time. And he just comes over with unlabeled bottles and said, hey, try this. I made it in my backyard. And I'm like, you did what? So I was like, all right, yeah. He said, just let it sit in the fridge for a week and then pop it open. And then I tried it. My father-in-law tried it. It was the best thing I had tasted. And then similarly, my wife, Claudia, who's our club membership director, she didn't like beer at all until that one. And then Brooklyn Blast. And then we went from Blast to a Creek that Brooklyn made, pretty much cherry ale. And it just was stuff we've never, ever had before. And we started thinking, well, if Neil could make this in his backyard, it's like, we got a backyard, and let's see how we can do it. And how it started.
Prerequisite, backyard. Done.
And then he had no more money after that.
Yeah.
That was it.
Kevin, how about you?
So, okay, these guys probably all know it because I posted it on Facebook recently. Our club, just so you know, our club, Greg talked about, brew challenges and the like. Our club has our own version of a club competition. We call it Last Brewer Standing. And basically, it's a bracket competition. We've got a championship belt, humble brag.
Nice.
Humble brag. First year we did it in 2018. I won it. So, so for this year, we're doing something called Clone Wars, where rather than being paired up randomly against somebody with a random style, you're paired up randomly against somebody, and you're given a commercial beer that you have to clone.
That's cool.
So I was fortunate enough to advance through round 1, and I got to round 2. And the beer that I have to clone for round 2 is my choice, which is Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Ah, there you go. Classic.
That was the really first beer I ever got into that had a little bit of hoppiness to it. You know, listen, being in college, you drink a lot of Milwaukee's Best and Natural Light, that kind of stuff.
Red Dog.
God.
Then you get a little bit of money coming out of college, and you move into like the Sam Adams Boston Lagers. But Sierra Nevada was that first one that was really a hoppy beer that I had that went, oh man, this is awesome. This is
that is the most popular answer by far.
That we've gotten, yeah.
It's, I mean, I'm sorry to be pandering to the crowd, but it's a damn good one.
Ken, what about you?
It's just amazing listening to everybody recount, because I'm like trying to play it back in my head, and I'm like, so like I have to kind of agree with a little bit of everybody. It's kind of weird. Like, I gotta say, in high school, like it was, you know, Pete's was coming out, shit was solid, and then Sam Adams like started coming out with the cream stout, and I was getting into that.
21 years old in high school.
Yeah. So it's, but then like when I started college, I gotta say, Sierra Nevada was my go-to for a while, and I went to CW Post, and I started hitting Frank's Beverage. And I gotta say, although Sam's had the what was it, the old Fezziwig.
That was
fantastic, man.
Which was fabulous, but
Solid.
my favorite all-time local craft beer, Brooklyn Oktoberfest.
There you go.
That's the one that like I could drink it warm out of the fucking trunk of my car. like I could drink, you know.
And we do realize you have.
Oh yeah.
In the high school parking lot.
Never a bad time. For
in the high school parking lot.
Yeah.
Now, because I think that's frowned upon.
Yeah. Who's that guy in the parking lot with a trunk full of warm beer?
I'm going to the high school parking lot.
You not know who Ken Dalton is? Come on.
You know, until the bell rings, I have to leave, and then
You said teachers only. Teachers only. I'd appreciate you in my parking lot handing out warm beers. I could use one of those at the end of the day.
Brooklyn Oktoberfest was the thing that just made me fall like absolutely head over heels in love with beer.
Yeah.
Like, even though I loved beer long before that and enjoyed craft, but that was the one.
There you go.
This is fantastic, by the way. I don't know who made this.
Well, we're going to get into that. Hold on. Justin.
Goddamn.
Beer.
So good.
Yes. So the beer that got me into craft beer was Blue Point Toasted Lager. I remember the moment clear as day. I was at Phil's restaurant in Wading River. I was strictly a Coors Light guy, and not because I liked it, but it was just the beer that I could drink without gagging over compared to like Bud Light or Miller. And my buddy was telling me about this local brewery that started making this beer, and that Phil's happened to have it on tap. And I thought that was the craziest thing, that Long Island now had its own beer, you know, that I never heard of. And then I don't know if I was quite 21 at the time, but someone had a glass of it, and I tried a sip of it, and it was just like one of those like instant moments of like, this is what a beer could be. And it was so different than the light beer that I've only been experienced to. And pretty much from like that moment on, it was like I quickly, you know, transcended very quickly into craft beer only. And then going up to visit my brother in college, like, you know, I got exposed to, that was the first time. That was when Blue Moon just came out, so that was like with the wheat beer craze. But it was definitely Toasted Lager that got me hooked.
Cool.
Right. Not to interrupt, but I do have, I don't know, it's a Long Island memory, a standout from when I was in high school, because my buddy worked at the local beer distributor, so we tried everything. Some that got in stock, but they didn't have a big marketing push, so it didn't move very quickly. So for a bunch of guys who were just hanging out in the store a lot, it was easy to make it disappear without anybody noticing by the 12 or 14 or 24 pack. Did anyone have Jordan Ale back in the day? It was Jordan Seraph. He was a Long Island native. Dave from Bellport knows him. He was good friends with him. I think he moved to Israel now years ago with his family. He friended me because I mentioned it to Dave that I had his beer and was, affected by it as a young man, positively, obviously. And, he told him, and he ended up friending me on Facebook when I joined, and, but he's, left the country, but it was early. Like, I want to say this guy was putting out his own stuff in like 96.
Wow. And commercially, right? I mean, he had a label, UPC, everything.
and he was just a one-man operation. I guess he tried it for a couple of batches maybe, and that was that. But I do remember trying it and it being very good, and it was probably, maybe a little past its prime because it had been sitting for a little bit, and they were like, "Oh, it's not really moving," and I was just like, "It's fucking moving now." Right
I'll make it move
when you guys aren't watching.
No, I've never even heard of it. Anybody here partake?
I just remember it being like a maltier, and like according to what have you seen like of my taste, like the Fezziwig, the Oktoberfest, like it was something, it kind of hit me there around that time. It was solid beer.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
There you go. Steve, evaluate your questioning for this next round because if we go through 2 more questions, we're going to be at 9:45. We're not going to have any chance to talk about the beer.
We'll skip number 2. We'll go right to number 3.
Oh,
what is your go-to beer now? And it can't be your homebrew or any homebrew, but what is your go-to beer if you happen to see it somewhere and you'd like, yes, that's I need to drink that now.
Greg, he's thinking.
You kill me with something like that. I gotta say something local.
You go to a restaurant, they have all these beers on tap and cans. What are you looking for?
If we're talking something not local, I love everything that Maine produces. And if we're talking stuff local, I have a bunch of loves on Long Island. But I love, like, we were just at Uber Geek the other day.
Yeah, shout out to Rob Raffa just opening up this weekend.
Absolutely, and let me tell you, very, very, very good showing for the opening weekend. So, and then it's nice to see them carrying a cider on tap and having po' boy on tap there. So I love to see po' boy all over the place, and a lot of the breweries like to carry them. So they're always a staple of mine, and I love to give a shout out to not only.
Yep.
I'll give you a quick one, Mike Pete. What's my go-to?
Right now?
Yeah. What do I go for?
You have Sam Adams Utopia sitting on your little shelf there, so I would say go right for that.
No, it's 5 Boroughs Tiny Juicy.
Yes, of course. No, I know. I was making fun of it. Yeah.
That's got to be my beer for summer. Period. Like, I was a big fan of Brooklyn Summer, and you turned me on to that last year.
Brooklyn Summer bread and butter. That's what I call it. The old bread and butter.
Just fucking Tiny Juicy now, though. I like that it's low ABV too.
Yeah.
Because then I can have like 17 of them. So.
Justin, what do we got for your go-to?
I'm going to swing the other direction, and I love everything in Spider Bite, but I could drink Boris all the time, and I will drink 17 of them. In fact, I probably did on my 40th birthday, and I didn't remember if I paid Larry or not.
So Boris it is. That's a solid one. Ryan?
This is going to sound weird. I've been, kind of done with some of the IPAs a little bit too much, honestly. Shiner.
A little Bach. Got to get a Bach in you. There
you go.
I like a good Bach. We had it over at the meatball place in Farmingdale when I first started working there, and I was like, no one ever bought it. I don't know how come people aren't drinking the 1 or 2 people, older gentlemen that would come in. I need a Bach. All right, you got it. Shiner it is. I would drink it. That was my go-to out of all the taps we had. It was delicious. Bernie, what do we got?
I can't even narrow down. I'm really liking Motion Crafted's Vienna. Anything from South Shore. And if I go off Long Island, anything from Fifth Hammer.
Oh, Fifth Hammer. Love us some of those. The Lemur series. Oh, that Lemur series was delicious, and I like their sours. They have some really great sours too. Kevin.
I'm gonna go yada yada yada. Wait, what? Wait, hold on. These days. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. That was 2 years ago. Was my go-to too. No, sorry, Steve. Honestly, I would. The one I always find myself going back to is Brooklyn Lager. Love that one.
Solid. What do we got? We got Ken. What do you got?
I have to echo a couple of those. Tiny Juicy recently, is friggin' awesome. Anything by Fifth Hammer. I love Interborough stuff. And, but, in a pinch, a Narragansett.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah.
I was going to even say Utica Pilsner. Mmm, so crispy.
That milk stout's wonderful.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Indeed it is. Justin? Sorry, good.
Pilsner, that's very good as well.
Which one?
Juicy. Five Boroughs, who does the tiny juicy.
Oh, yeah, they have the, yep.
Oh,
Same thing in the 6-pack cans, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Delicious. Justin, what do we got for our go-to right now?
So I'm more of a seasonal drinker, so I kind of go follow the season. I will say, Ken, though, the fresh catch from Narragansett, if you never had it, is fantastic.
Yeah. Yep.
Delicious.
That's definitely one of my summer beers. For local, I try to support the ones around me, so I go to Squarehead a lot when I can. I haven't been to Po' Boy in a little bit, but the last time I was there, everything was fantastic. And then if I go to restaurants, I tend to lean toward the German because good German Pilsner, a good Dunkel, or good Oktoberfest on tap is.
There you go.
Yes.
please.
Well, we have a bunch of doubles and triples here that we have to get through. The first one, I know Pete brought it up, the Belgian Cezanne. This is Audrey Hepburn.
Delightful. Smells amazing.
By the way, it's my I'm going to save this bottle because my wife's kind of all-time idol is Audrey Hepburn, so I'll save that for her. Let's talk to the person who had brewed this, if they're here. Are they here? Are you here?
Yep.
That is you,
mine.
Kevin, with your fancy labels and your beautiful women.
All right. So let me quickly say about the bottles. Normally, I would probably do a handwritten bottle, but one of the breweries around here who recently went through a rebranding also changed their labels. So you guys will probably notice there's like a film of glue behind my label. So I tried to cover that up with something a little fancy.
Okay, fair enough. That's all right. I mean, I did notice a little stickiness, but I just assumed it was going over, maybe pulling up and putting back.
No. It was pulling up their label and not being able to get all the glue off. So.
Good job on the beer, though.
Yeah, it's delicious.
But also, shout out to Chris Cerny, who brewed it with me.
There you go.
My buddies from the Hand Grenades Club.
Get and break it down for us a little bit. Tell us what you're using here. What do we got for our profile, our grain, our all that good stuff?
So what this is it's we're trying. One of the things we're doing is our club. Bernie issued a 45 challenge. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get into trying to medal at NHC. So and Justin, Greg, and Ryan are participating in this with us as well. And what we're doing is we put together groups of guys and say, hey, let's brew a beer, pick a style, brew it over and over again, bring it to meetings, enter it into competitions, get feedback, just try to brew it over and over again and make it better. And eventually, hopefully, be able to brew something that's worthy of medaling at the National Homebrew Competition.
At that point, are you looking for more consistency from brew to brew, or are you looking to really just change it up every time? What are you looking for on that?
I think what we've done, so this is the second version that we brewed of this beer. And so for both versions, we kept the malt pretty similar. It's mostly Pilsner, a little bit of two-row, a little bit of Munich, a little bit of Vienna, some noble hops. We switched up the yeast from the first batch to the second one. I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to dial in on something that's going to be a recipe that people are going to react to positively. And then to your point, then it's worrying about the process and making sure we're brewing it consistently over and over again. So whether we brew it now or whether we brew it in March of 2022, hopefully it'll taste the same.
Now, one of the hardest things to do when you don't have a full professional brewing system, you guys are using homebrew techniques. Is that consistency very difficult to do?
These guys can also chalk in. Listen, it depends on, where you're getting your grain from. If you got your grain from Northern Brewer this go around and you got it from Adventures in Homebrewing the next go, they don't always tell you which brand you're getting. It's just two-row malt. You don't know which brand you're getting. Yeah. So, you could have some differences there from batch to batch. If I'm brewing it at my house versus I'm brewing it at Chris's house, we live in different towns. The water profile might be different.
Right.
So that could lead to a different finished product. I may be fermenting at a different temperature than he is. There's a lot of different variables that are going to go into those little things and make a big difference in the finished product.
And you have ventured in, this is a Cezanne, so have you done any other variants of this recipe? Anything adjuncts added, subtracted from, or whatever? Did it start out as more of a?
No, I mean, like I said, this one was. It's pretty much been a similar recipe. The one thing we did do, which I have never done as a home brewer, was try to venture into an open fermentation on this, because as a home brewer, a lot of times what you do is, you Google shit, for lack of a better word, and try to find the proper techniques to how to brew a proper style. And a lot of things I read about Belgian Cezannes is, that yeast tends to stall because there's too much CO2 in solution, or the temperature, what have you. So we've been this one, and I'm glad you guys like it. So we're happy with how this one turned out.
We're not reviewers, Kevin, but Pete loves his Belgian Cezannes. Pete, what do you think?
It's terrific. It smells amazing. That was the first thing that hit me was it smells delightful, as Cezannes often do. I love it. It's great.
Good.
It's got that funky kind of flavor that I like in the Cezanne.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it, man.
Kev, when you say open fermentation, do you mean full on open to the whole room? Do you guys do like a little cheesecloth?
So what we did with that is
it in the yard?
We put it in. No. I put it in a 6 gallon carboy, and I've got the bung that has the thermowell and also the hole for an airlock.
Okay.
So we put the bung in, put the probe into the thermowell, and just didn't put an airlock in, just kind of loosely tented it with tin foil. So so the gases can escape, and the tin foil's not going to let any of the bugs or unmentionables in.
Have you guys tried a like an open chill or an open? Because I know I had this idea in my head when Pete had the shop, because he had like an old barrier keg sitting there, and I wanted to just split it. So I could do my wort, for 12, 24 hours till the next morning, just leave it out overnight, and then drain it into my carboy and let it ferment from there.
We haven't gotten that far yet. It's basically still been right from the brew kettle right into the fermenter and let it go.
So we're not getting local terroir.
No, you're not.
No, you're not
yet. Anyway. I don't know that Wantau's terroir is going to be that similar to the Belgian plains. So
what the hell?
Yeah, it's the plain edge and plain view, but not the plains. I'm also concerned about the water profile from the Bethpage plume coming down into the local drinking water.
Yeah, it's a valid concern.
Well, you boiled it, so that should take all the radioactivity out. It'll be fine. It'll be just fine.
Whatever the wind's blowing in from Hempstead Turnpike.
Exactly. Well, Mr. Beery's is serving, and you're basically washing your hands with radioactive water, so we're good. We're good.
Yeah. All right, enough of me. Go drink Greg's triple.
Yeah, well, that's on Pete. Pete's got the triple over there, I think. But you also have this brook trout ale, correct?
Yeah. So again, we talked. I was talking earlier about the last brewer standing competition that we're doing. That was the Clone Wars this go around.
Yeah.
So in the first round, I drew Bell's Two Hearted, which again, pretty solid IPA. So that's a take on their label.
Yeah, you think? It's right there. It's nice though. As soon as I saw it, I went, "Ooh, IPA with a brook trout. Wonder where that came from."
Before.
Don't show that too long. There might be copyright issues.
Well, you didn't take the actual. Well, we'll say it's from Getty Images, and we paid for it, so we're good.
Well, that's why I described it as an inspired American IPA.
I like it. You avoided all legal ramifications that could possibly happen.
Sure.
Based on a true story.
Yeah, exactly. And then Steve actually held up the blood sport. That's also you as well?
That's me as well. Yeah, I'm the guy who made the fancy labels.
Yeah.
So I'll hear all about this at the next meeting.
There you go. So tell us a little bit about this. Is a Belgian double. I'd like to get into it, but I don't want to crack too many beers at once. What I'll do is I'll end up taking some pictures of it for you and throwing it up on our Instagram and social media so people can see it as well. But the Belgian double, what kind of changed here? What's been the essence of this? And it looks delicious in Steve's glass right there. That's what I want to see from it.
It's good, man.
Yeah, I mean, thanks. I appreciate it. You're definitely going to get some of the stone fruit, a nice raisin on the aroma. It's going to be really malt forward, not a lot of hops to it. Same thing. It's like, I'm going to shout out Chris Cerny again. He and I have become kind of like brewing buddies in the club. We brewed a double a couple of years ago. We called it Kicks Like Van Damme. Entered into a competition, took first place in the Belgian table. And then we brewed it at my house this past winter, and I said, okay, we brewed Kicks Like Van Damme at your house, so I can't name this Kicks Like Van Damme. I'm gonna call it Bloodsport.
Well, that was for the best. There you go.
Listen,
he's playing. That's the theme song from Van Damme, from Bloodsport.
Strongly chant.
Kumite.
It's funny because someone made a comment on the Instagram post, and they said you should have them all duke it out. And I said, yeah, 3 enter, 1 leave. And then I get the Bloodsport bottle today. The other day I went, ooh.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't like my chances against Ryan, Greg, and Justin.
Yeah. It's a good point.
Especially when
listen. They're nice guys, but I don't want to make them mad.
No.
Just go let them...
It's like Game of Thrones. They got a giant.
Yeah, they did.
Exactly.
I was talking to Bernard.
That's Hodor.
I was talking to Bernard. Bernard's like, being at these festivals with Greg, all you have to do is go like, "Where's Greg?" And then you can find Greg in a crowd.
There he is.
And I thought I was tall. I'm 6'2". I feel like I'm a tall guy. Pete, you're 6'1"? 6'1"?
6'1".
Yeah. Greg, you are a
like
very
tall
human being, and
everybody thinks they're tall till they meet the Kellys.
Right, and yeah, that's it.
And the kid's taller than you, and you're like, holy shit.
We're average tall.
Yeah, you stand out, and I think that actually helps LIBMA because people notice you. People notice you. You are the spokesperson. No one can not hear or see you. It definitely helps to have you.
Hard to miss.
Yeah,
what I gotta say is, I've made some really bad mistakes over the many years of going to beer festivals and have the Kelly's brothers there. And I have a few beers in me, and I decide I'm going to try to lift one of them off the ground. It doesn't go well. And then the next thing I know, I'm up over their heads somewhere, getting thrown around, like getting ragdolled. And then we drink it off.
Yeah.
So,
I thought you were going to say, like,
And that was Steve's
they just scooped you up, and then later in the night, you just end up outturned from their pocket.
Yeah. You're the pocket lint. That's why Steve had to have surgery last month. Too many trying lifting the Kelly brothers. Greg, speaking of you, I just cracked your beer. This is Greg's unnamed in the 1940s growler. Give me a little breakdown of this bad boy.
All right, so that's my second version of a red IPA.
Yes,
I like that.
So what I wanted to do is I wanted to brew a basic IPA, but have that strong malt character come through.
And you did it.
It'll be a bitter beer, but have that complex malt character and go red color as well. So.
And you got the color down, that's for sure. I'll tell you.
Like it.
Delicious.
I brewed it probably like 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, it is delicious. I love red IPAs. When you told me about it today, I went, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. This is the thing that I want to drink pretty much all night. And you gave me enough of it that I will be drinking it all night, just so you know. I'm going to have to go back and forth between all this. But there's other things from LIBME that we want to highlight. So what else did you give me? Because I don't remember what I doled out to everybody.
I gave you earlier, I gave you 3 beers that are mine. I gave you the red IPA that was mine. I gave you a Belgian triple that Justin and I brewed together.
There you go. That's what
Is that this? Is
and
that the
No, it had a label, had the blue tape on it.
Okay, got it.
No, the blue tape were Ryan's
that's-
beers.
Yes.
Okay. Ryan does
what I
the blue
got.
tape. Yep.
Yeah, so and then the third one that I gave you was actually a commercial example of one of our home brews. As I was saying earlier, we do that chop competition where we break up into teams and we do select randomly out of a hat and pick one style and 2 ingredients, and pretty much whatever you get, you got to brew it.
Right.
I was fortunate this year to be on a team with Justin Hansen as our head brewer and Angela Berto as our other assistant brewer, and
So they fixed it so that
we were a little bit fortunate to get the Belgian ale category with honey and cherry in it.
Ah, that was the 16-ounce can you gave me, right?
With yes, that was a 16-ounce can.
Yep.
So that's actually not a homebrew. That's our homebrew that when we won the competition, we got to brew 100 gallons over with Tim and Mikey over at TBC.
Yeah.
So
cool.
That's the TBC's version of it, which came out great as well. And those guys are a pleasure to work with. So.
Yeah. Justin, a little bit about that brewing process. Tell us a little bit about that, what you guys did for your homebrew and how it was scaled up to.
And then I also gave you 2 that have the blue tape on it.
Yes. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. I want to hear about the
I'll
Brewers
let
Collective.
Justin talk about the base. Yeah, so when we were on a chop team, Justin was our head brewer, so I'll let Justin talk more about the beer to guard with the honey and cherries.
Cool.
Fix your internet, Greg. Come on.
I didn't want to say it, but Greg, take yourself off Wi-Fi. You're probably better off with 3G at this point. He's like, no, I got T-Mobile. No way.
So we were very lucky to get into the Belgian category. We had brewed a beer to guard actually with Greg and Mark for a different competition once and won that. So we leaned back on that beer to guard recipe.
Yeah.
And we did a dark beer to guard. There are two types of beer to guard. There's a lighter version and a darker version. The darker version is a little bit in the vein of a Belgian double. We were saying before, some stone fruit character, but really has more of that cherry, kind of like stone fruit cherry flavor in it to start with. So we used that along with meadow foam honey and Montmorency cherries.
Nice.
Hey, Justin, you answered my question because I was going to ask, because I remember that first beer to guard you guys brewed, which was also awesome. So I was curious if it was the same recipe. So
yeah, it was the same base recipe.
Yeah. I mean, they're both awesome. They're both awesome beers.
Yeah, the one we had brewed previously, won a LIBME Pro Am, was actually brewed at Mustache. It was called the least Belgian because Greg is actually, despite having to brew a triple for last brewer standing, not a big fan of Belgian beer. So when we picked up the Coney Island Wort Share beer, we talked him into turning it into a beer to guard because it was the least Belgian-y of the Belgians. It's really a French beer. It's not actually a Belgian beer in terms of lineage, but it's in the Belgian beer category. It's a fantastic style. I love brewing it, and adding those Montmorency cherries I think were the key. They're only grown in one area of Michigan. I'd never heard of them, and Andrew, of course, was like, "Oh yeah, we should use these." So we did. And I actually had to call the place we ordered them from when I tasted them because I thought they added cinnamon to the actual cherries. And they didn't. It actually has that sort of spice flavor to them to start with.
Huh. And now, when you guys upscaled to the Brewers Collective, did you have to make any major changes? Did they have to do anything to it that they bring it to that level?
They're really good at translating the recipe. We've worked with them with Chop before, and they're always right in the ballpark. One of the biggest differences is, I mean, for cost purposes, I mean, meadow foam honey is ridiculously expensive. It's like $500 a pail.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't practical to use it for that. So we used, I believe it was clover honey for honey edition, but they still went and purchased the Montmorency cherries, which I think are the bigger of the two factors. And there's maybe a very, very minor background complexity difference between the home version and the commercial version, but the commercial version is fantastic, especially in showcasing the base style and the cherry, I think.
Yeah, and the combination thereof, basically got you to that winning combination that got you to that thing. What other brews were brewed for this chop competition? Did anybody else in the LIBME or outside of that submit stuff?
There are 10 teams.
Okay.
So there were 10 different ones. The process is everyone gets together with their random teams and random ingredients, and they brew. And then it comes to a meeting, and we have the first stage, which is a popular vote, and the top 3 from the popular vote go to the judges' table, which include Tim from TBC and other members of TBC to choose which one they're going to brew.
Mm-hmm. And once they get there, is it like I guess, besides the popular vote, I'm sure they're choosing things also based upon what they know they can upscale to the thing too, right? Does that play into it?
They're choosing the 3 from the. I'm sure that's a factor in the 3 that they're given. So there's 3 that make it to the that final table.
Right. Okay. Cool.
I guarantee that has to be a factor, and that's of course part of what we tell everyone too. Don't go crazy and
right. You never get it brewed.
Money a lot more and see cherries. Don't do that.
Yeah.
No sours, right?
Yeah. Ryan, you guys, you submitted to us two of your beers. Give us a little breakdown on those guys.
Yeah, so
I just want to make sure confirm they were not brewed in that oil tank off to your left, right?
No, they were not brewed in the oil tank. They were brewed way back over here.
Oh, there it is.
A little anvil. Yeah, so one of them is a wild ale. It's really the first ever Brettanomyces brewed beer that I've ever made. It's called 325-2020. I fermented the cherries completely separate. Well, it wasn't just cherries. It was cherries, blueberries, pomegranates. Nothing fancy, just frozen Stop and Shop berries, completely fermented separately, and then added to the primary fermentation. And it sat basically it was 6 months before I actually bottled it. That took first place as an LIBME member, it took first place in the Homebrews and Hand Grenades Club competition in the winter. It came out really good. I do like it. That one actually, you may get a little chunk of a vanilla bean. I was messing around and I
found it.
Yeah, I threw them in a few bottles just to see. It did nothing. It was a waste of time, but that came out pretty good. And I
was pouring and I was like, what the fuck was that?
It's the worm in the tequila.
Bean in there, like a quarter inch.
And then I heard that and it all made sense.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, that's why you have that bottle, is because the normal ones they're already gone. So you have the vanilla bean bottle.
It looks almost just a touch darker than a golden. It has that.
Yeah.
That when it was fermenting and when I was making that beer, it was this pastel salmon red cherry. It was that beer has gone through so many color transformations and I think it's the Brettanomyces. It's got 3 different, it got lactobacillus, Brettanomyces, and Saccharomyces yeast in there. It was basically a smorgasbord.
Right. What did you do? What did you use to ferment the fruit separately? Did you
lactic? Just threw some Good Belly on it and let it. Okay. I got a bunch of that sitting in this thing here, downstairs in the brewery. And then the other beer is called I prefer the word homage. I really wanted to make a Bourbon County-esque kind of beer, big, robust, like just punch you in the mouth kind of flavors. And I used some Redemption bourbon and some wood oak cubes and soaked it for a little while. And that sucker was brewed on St. Patrick's Day last year, was bottled. I think
at the start
again for 6 to 8 months, before I even packaged it. And that came out. That just got beaten out by Adam Weiss's beer for the Pro-Am, the last Pro-Am.
That son of a bitch.
Yeah, that damn bastard. No, the other beer was really good. So, pretty good.
And did I miss anything from either of you guys at this point, from LIBME or Hand Grenades?
I don't think so.
All right, I think I did capture them all.
I have an unlabeled one, Mike. Do you know
yes, that is Justin from Beer sent those on. Give us a little background of this little bad boy, unlabeled, unnamed, just
unbroken, unbent.
Yes, all of those things.
Mystery beer.
Justin, you're muted. Just unmute yourself. There you go. He's got it. And there you go. There you go.
So that is an English ordinary bitter. Real simple style of beer, but one that you don't really see a lot. So that's why I like to brew it. It's a quick brew. A lot of times, if I'm brewing for a competition and I want to sign up, but I don't have a lot of time, that's a good style to go to. And the other thing with being a home brewer, it's not my job, it's my hobby.
Yep.
So that is actually partial extract. So I used, I think it was about 6 pounds of liquid English malt extract, some crystal, English 60 crystal, and some Belgian biscuit malt. And I think it was pearl and Golding hops that I used. And then Safe Ale SO4 for the starter.
It drinks very clean, smooth, nothing crazy. Now, is this a common place for getting the beer out and kind of saving time on the brewing process using an extract?
For me, it was. Yeah, it was just one of these times I wanted to brew a beer, and it was just like, oh, I'm going to brew a beer. And then I kind of thought about it. And then the free time that I actually had for that week was very limited. So the best option for me was brew it at nighttime, and it was in the middle of winter, so an extract was the perfect way to do it. I could do it in the kitchen. I just put it in my garage overnight, let it cool down that way, and then I would pitch the yeast the next day.
Nice.
A lot of times I do a brew in a bag, or I do have, I kind of switch up my methods, based on how much time I have to brew. Because if you're brewing, all grain, sometimes it can be, half a day, half a day, but like 4 hours. So this is to me, it was a little quicker at that time. I know it came out at my one critique with the extracts. They always seem to come out whenever I brew them. They always seem to come out a little darker. So it's more of an amber color than I want. But I thought the malt profile came out pretty good. I got the little fruitiness from the yeast when I bottled it, and it's pretty fresh. It's only about like 2 weeks in the bottle, so it's probably not as carbonated as it could be.
No, it seems fine. I don't notice a big change in that. I enjoy the flavor profile of it. I am a big English bitters fan, but I don't think it's to that highest level of that bitterness that bite that you right. It's just something that goes into that. You kind of sacrifice something for the time.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed with the hoppiness when I made it. I was following. I kind of winged the recipe. I kind of modified a Charlie Papazian recipe, and I thought I was on point with the hop IBUs, but it just doesn't seem to. That they're there in the beginning, but I was kind of hoping for a little more throughout, flavor wise, to get a little more out of it. But I felt the yeast character was pretty good, and the malt flavor was I was happy with. But.
And going back through these really quick, is anybody else using extract for any of their styles just to save time like Justin is, or is it all grain, putting in the time, doing those things?
I don't think there's anything wrong with doing partial extract or anything. I don't personally. I like to overcomplicate things.
Yeah,
that's what I do. I went from brewing two brews on my friend's turkey burner, and then I built my own electric system, knowing nothing about electricity. So, apparently, I want to complicate things, and I have a death wish.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, once my wife got me out of her fucking kitchen, there was no going back.
Yeah, yeah.
No. You want to brew that? No. Go back in the garage.
It's going.
All it takes is one really bad boil over for your wife to say, you need to figure out a new way to do this.
Everything smelled great until you added the hops.
Not my wife. She'll be big beers is all she brews. And if we can't mash in our 20 gallon kettle, she'll cheat with extract just to bump up the ABV.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I mean that's
barley wines, wheat wines, the imperial stouts. That's all she's doing.
And there you go. That's I was thinking. Just blending your all grain plus a little bit of an extract just to bump up that ABV would definitely help out some of the brews. And again, to overcomplicate it, I guess you'd have to really go grassroots in the backyard. But a lot of us, are. And I brewed my first beer in my kitchen, and I know the smell did not enthuse the wife and the family. But it was one of those things where you live and you learn and you move on and you try to figure out the next step and next stage and what works for you. Does everyone feel like that their system that they're working with right now is the system that they want to work with as a home brewer? Is there something else that you'd want to go to at this point? Bernie, I'd start with you. What would be like the wish list for equipment right now as a home brewer that you could step up to from where you are now?
Sand City South.
Yeah.
Good point. Got the keys? No. Yeah. I mean, it's. I think one thing with homebrew too, a lot of folks that get involved, they don't know ahead of time, even if you ask them in brewing, the rabbit hole you're going to fall in scaling up and tweaking and messing with your system until it's never right. Like you're every brew day, I think I can add this and complicate things a bit more. And it's a free for all. So there's no end point to it.
Nope.
Kevin, what have you experienced over the years? Moving up, scaling up from your original system to now.
I think it's the same thing that Bernie just said. It's like a constant, like, you brew with other guys, like, oh, I should incorporate that into my system, or why it looks like his burner is better than mine. I should research that burner, to bring the wort to a boil faster, or wow, okay, hey, he's got a hop screen, a hop spider. I should use that. And hey, maybe I'll catch, some of the grain that I didn't get in the Vorloff, to make it a little bit cleaner wort for the boil. It's like Bernie said, like you're never satisfied with what you have. I mean, honestly, I love, Justin could talk more to it. Like he's got a freaking sweet system in his house. I love his, he can tell you about his hood to capture all the, all the steam. I mean, it's very high tech.
Justin, please tell us about your
hood. I think I can one up Justin on that one. I don't think
I want to know about his hood.
Or what's under it.
Hold on. You just got to get up for a second so you can get a good angle at it.
There we go.
Extremely understanding. I think saying I have an understanding wife is an understatement. All of my hobbies, I go to Battle of Lebanon, like I mentioned, and I actually put a new dryer vent in the side of my house, and yeah, I had my basement's basically a little mini brewery, so it's pretty awesome. I think I'm the only person here who probably doesn't need, or not need to, no one needs to, but doesn't even really want to change anything. I'm thinking about getting some of the cooler fermenters that you can attach random shit to just because it looks like fun, but I really don't think that I actually have to spend any more money. Not that I've spent a lot. It hasn't been that much. It's just, it's all in one place. And I have about, 450 pounds of base grain in the basement, thanks to Steve being, generous and selling us some sacks of grain and stuff like that. So honestly, I could walk downstairs and brew almost any beer I would ever want to right now.
Jesus. What's the shelf? Wow. Steve, maybe you could talk about that. What's the shelf life on some of that grain?
It depends. If they're really heavily malted, if they're darker grains, they can last for really quite a long time. Your base malts, your two rows and that, yeah, you want to use them 8 months to a year.
Okay.
Because you start losing carbohydrate, they'll start drying out, lose moisture. There's so many different things, but you're still going to get flavor and sugars out of them. So
yeah. Ryan, what do you got?
If they're sealed, even better.
Yeah, Ryan, what do you got working over there? I mean, it's hard to see in the small window because we have so many people today, but it looks like nothing I can see on the screen. So
there's a lot. So
there's a lot.
Evolution has it started with a bucket, which is now my hood for
his piss bucket when he can't go upstairs to go to the bathroom.
It's
good to be the king.
That's on the other side of the wall over there.
There you go.
I've had a lot. It was just a regular, just an old bucket, and then went to Lowe's and bought an igloo cooler, then bought a rims tube and a controller system and a pump, and then at one of the cask festivals, this guy, I'll never forget, Jim, comes over. He's like, anybody have any interest in a 3-vessel Brew Magic system? I've been trying to sell it to you guys for 3 years. I was like, give me your number. I'll go take a look. It's like a brand. He gave it to me. I had to give him something for it because he was like, just get it out of my house. Using that, and then I, of course, ended up upgrading to an Anvil Foundry, and that brew in a bag system. It's amazing. The one thing I would like is a larger system because putting 23 pounds of grain in that gets a little tricky from time to time.
Jesus.
You get just a thimble worth of space at the top. But yeah, I'm always tinkering. I'm handy. I rebuild and take down, and always something to do.
Yeah. Ken, what are you working with down there?
I've been brewing a long time. I'm still fucking Neanderthal, and I'm lifting, pouring. It's ridiculous. Last February, I was excited for freaking festival season. I bought a bigger hot liquor tank. I started thinking about, mods to my kegel to make a mash tun. I was like, yeah, I'll start doing 10 gallons at a time instead of 5, and then boom, everything stopped. So I got bigger hot liquor tank. I got a mash tun ready to go. I got a pump. I just need a bigger kettle to do 10-gallon batches, and I just haven't bought connections and fucking tubes yet because where am I going with 10 gallons of beer? You can only drink a glass at a time.
Yeah.
So,
you know what? Before I get to Justin, I have a question for you. You're brewing 10 gallons, right? So are you going into kegs, and do you have like a connection that would drop in the tank? Are you taking apart the kegs to fill? Like, how is everyone kegging their stuff for these festivals?
They're all Cornelius kegs, which are like old soda kegs.
Ah, okay. So you're doing the pressure of the two.
Yeah. So you know, I have a couple of these stainless brew buckets, so it's just got the spigot right at the bottom, just tube straight down right into the bottom, and you know, flush it with a little CO2, especially for the hoppier beers, because I tend to oxidize my IPAs.
Oh, you're speaking of oxidation, Peter.
Yeah, you know.
We have some issues with oxidation. Let me introduce you to our first.
Those guys.
Yeah. Well, this was our first iteration of our beer that we wanted to use. It was a Worttoberfest. There it is. And
I stand behind that name.
I love that. Great name.
I walk away for a second and you bring these bad memories up.
I know. Just conjuring bad memories.
We got to eat some good barbecue.
We did.
Boston.
We had a great time, but we brewed it up at a place that has since not been able to keep their doors open. And we had a lot of oxidation. We were brewing in a bag, just like you guys were talking about before. And we were transferring that to a keg. And something happened in that transfer from the bag to the keg, and it just did not work out. So we got, 14 gallons of beer completely down the drain, somewhere in there. Stupid amount of beer gone.
Yep.
But I was able to salvage one single sealed can.
2 quarter kegs.
Yeah.
So you're officially homebrewers then. That's what you're saying? You wasted a bunch of beer?
Oh, my God. But to a cost that would kind of piss you off if we told you.
Yeah.
It was not your homebrewer cost. It was a market value cost to do that, and it was not fun. But we since then brewed...
Plus gas and tolls.
In our beer maker. Now, for anyone that has our beer maker beer... I'd invite you to take a swig and take a little sample of that and tell us what you guys think about how Beer Maker has made a IPA, and it was a hazy IPA, right, Steve? Steve was overseeing the first batch under the Brew Maker. Steve, give us a little breakdown of the process and what we went through.
I was very skeptical of the unit when it was brought to our attention, when the actual company reached out. And it is really a all grain, all-in-one brew system. And it uses sealed bags with actual quick disconnects. So there's a main bag that will hold the wort, and then there's actually a bag on the bottom that clips into it that is the trub, all the particulate. But there is a basket up top. You never boil though. Everything is pasteurized. It's at about 172 degrees for about a day. And once the grain's done, you throw it away like spent grain, and you add yeast. They give you nutrient. They give you steam hops. So you're getting, more flavor. And I mean, they really thought a lot about this machine. It heats, it cools. There's an app that actually tells you the next step, when to do it, what it's going to do. It gives you updates on temperature. You could be anywhere and you can check the temperature of your wort. We're on that second one. The second one finished today. I'm going to probably transfer it, and it has its own self-contained system. So you can actually pour the beer like tap beer. They give you CO2 cartridges to it. And I was very, very skeptical because I've seen other ones. I've seen Pico, I've seen Oli's. And my problem with it was too, what's one of the things that you guys really look forward to on a brew day? The brew day. Just hanging out and doing everything and cleaning and getting everything together and and you have your formula that you've been waiting for, and you've been thinking about it, and it's that whole process. Homebrewers love that process.
That's good.
But I did some more, digging and researching. So you could do DIY formulas. You could take your recipe that you would do home.
You said it right the first time. DIY.
Yeah.
Scotchies.
And they will, you send them. They have their own template too. They have their own software template, so you can put in all the different grains, different hops you want to put in, and it will measure them to the amount that you could actually fit in the unit. So say a pound of Munich malt and a pound of Pilsner and all these different things, and it will actually weigh it all out for you, and it's pretty impressive. The first one we did was the Ghost IPA, I think.
Future IPA.
Future.
It's an IPA from the future.
And then right now we did Ghost Wheat, and it's just a wheat beer, and they use dry yeast, all like the SO4 and stuff like that. They gave us the unit. It retails for $500, but what again, I was like, homebrew is like the process, but if you don't have that area to do the process, if you live in a condo or
the time
in the city, you don't have room for a carboy and all the these things. This thing is really legit, and you're getting 1.5 gallons out of a beer out of it. That goes right in your refrigerator. You pour the beer. We started the second one as I put the beer into the serving unit, so we're ready for the next beer. So you could, it's like, I believe it's $14 per kit, and it's all grain. I'm actually impressed with it. They really thought it out. The more beers we do, I'm waiting to see. We want to do one of Barage's old beers on it and see how it comes out. So, but yeah, it's crazy how the homebrew. This guy came up with this and actually did his research. Was a home brewer. He's actually a trained brewer, and it's wild. If you guys get a chance, go on. It's Beer Maker, BEER MKR. They have a ton of videos. Just watch the process. Not that you guys want to get these things, but just watch like what they thought of. Pretty impressive.
And what you guys go through on a brew by brew basis, you could see how they've kind of condensed a lot of those times. And yeah, Steve's right. We got over to his house to do the brew day, and it lasted probably 6 minutes.
Yes.
And then it was like, now what do we do? Now we just got to drink. Yeah, we drank beer. But still,
brew day to a drinking day.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there a separate compartment where the Snickers go in, or?
There it is.
Bro,
we'll let you know.
Don't laugh. They actually have videos on how to add cocoa nibs, how to add adjuncts.
Yeah.
You can dry hop.
There's this thing. It's a bar you put on that actually pushes the bag of liquid back up into the top vessel where you would steep the grain. And then you add the adjuncts into that, and they'll steep for a little while, and then you pull the bar off, and it basically sucks it back into the bag. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So, as homebrewers, do you guys see this as like a bastardization of the process, or do you think that I guess the marketing value with this would not be your homebrew club people, but basically the person that just wants that first step into the process? Would that be a natural thing? Because I know I did like the Brooklyn Beer Shop kit where you got the small carboy and you brewed pretty much what it was, a gallon of beer. I think a lot of people did the Mr. Beery kit or whatever it was. What do you guys think about that process, as Steve explained?
The first time that I brewed at my friend Joe Capiello's LIBME member. I brewed at his house, and he had the Grain Father. And
Oh.
we literally like sat on his couch, and then all of a sudden something would beep, and he'd be like, "Oh, we got to go put the hops in." Like it was just like didn't really feel like it was a brewing process.
Yep.
Because I was used to that 3-tier system, and then I ended up switching over, and I ended up getting myself an Anvil Foundry, one of those all-in-one systems. And I'm going to be honest with you, I am so impressed with where the technology's gone with those things. I love my Anvil Foundry at this point. Not only can I brew inside if it's a super hot day or super cold day, but it's producing a good product. You just got to balance your efficiency and figure out your process. The process changes everything, so you got to learn the process on the new system to make sure you can still produce a good quality product.
The big thing with this system also, you're not sanitizing anything. You're not like making sanitizer and putting all your equipment and everything in it. That pasteurization time is basically killing everything in the unit. The only thing they say is right before you connect into the unit that actually pours the beer, they give you little alcohol swabs before you actually connect the quick connects together to wipe them down. That's it.
Just a question with that though, because I know part of the purpose of the boiling process is to boil off that DMS. I would worry about the potential of having DMS in the beer if it doesn't come to a full boil.
That's one of my problems that I had from the beginning. This first beer we brewed, now I don't know whoever else had the beer. I have all flavors that I'm getting from it. And it's that grassy.
Yeah, it's definitely grassy.
It reminds me of grain or a brew that again was not kept at temp. And if you ever had a beer where your mash temps were all over the place, or you didn't mash long enough and you didn't get the full conversion, you get that grassy kind of. That's this first beer I got that from. Now I don't know if anybody else has gotten that, but the whole thing with this unit, I have the only problem I have is that there's no boil, and we'll see. The second one, I kind of changed what I did a little bit because you can play around with it. We'll see how the second one comes out. And again, it's a wheat, so if anything, you're really going to be able to tell if you have any DMS or something like that with all wheat beer. So,
but I agree with you with that grassy character, and I figured it was hop derived, that grassy character that was coming through. You're saying it might have been from the malt,
yeah.
But I assumed it was just a fresh beer and it had that like straight like grassy hop character that was coming through, which is where I thought it was derived from.
I mean, the beer came out well. For what I did to brew that beer,
the amount of labor involved.
The amount of labor was nothing, and it basically did it all on its own.
Plus, if you're making 10, 15, 20 gallons at a time, if you want to test out a new recipe,
you easily can with this thing
for you, and then you get a gallon and a half or so you could test out like, hey, maybe I want to amp up the hops for that. And
again, I think it's really geared more to
10, 15 gallons worth of beer.
Yeah.
I think it's geared more towards that novice brewer or that person that, has really nowhere to actually brew.
Somebody who's creating larger batches, by doing just a quick, smaller batch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and you could go through the same process you would with normal beer.
Yeah, my thought process to it is it's, like you said, like Steve just said, for the novice, it's a gateway drug. And maybe some people who grab this thing may decide to come down the rabbit hole with the rest of us, and some of them may not. But, listen, anything that gets people into brewing their own beer, ultimately is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
And it just, fosters interest in fermentation in general, and, maybe spending 5-6 hours in the yard isn't for everybody, but in the end, maybe somebody's more interested in making some ciders or some meads. It's quick, something that they can, do a little quicker process beforehand and wait for the fermentation. But a great foot in the door, and seems like an interesting tool for those of us making bigger batches.
Well, we hope to have some more answers for you in about 2 weeks when we have Beer Maker on the show with us. And like I said, this was a nice 3-part series where we had Chris and Angel on 2 weeks ago, and you guys all were kind enough to spend some time with us tonight. Really appreciate you guys being with us. I want to give you guys all an opportunity to kind of get people a little more exposure to the organization, how they can find you, where they can go. I'll start with you, Greg. Give us the big rundown on LIBME, where people can find you and how they can join in next meetings and next things coming up.
All right, so in terms of LIBME, if you guys are interested, our next meeting will be held at Sand City South. So we meet on the first Wednesday of every month.
This Wednesday.
So this Wednesday we will be at Sand City South.
3 hours from now that we leave.
Yes, not too far from now. And then we're at Dubco for May. For June we're out at Uber Geek. So we bump around all over the place. So if you want to find out a little bit more information with us, I think the easiest way is to go to libme.org, check out our website. We're on Facebook, Long Island Beer Malt Enthusiasts, and if you wanted to follow us on Instagram, we're LIBME_homebrew. And that's pretty much where you're going to get the majority of your information. If you guys wanted to reach out, of course, feel free to reach out. Our membership director is here on the call, Ryan. Will gladly go over the benefits of being a member. And he always pushes the Tri-Club membership also to get people not only involved with our club, but to join in with the other group as part of the association as well.
Nice. Justin, anything to add to that?
The only thing I would add is to come down to a meeting, you don't need to be a member. You don't have to pay. You can come down to as many meetings as you want and never pay us a dime. There are plenty of other reasons to give us your money.
And Ryan, as a membership organizer, something people can find out, what do they need to know about being a member if they want to join today?
It's easy. It's awesome. Go to libme.org or beermalt.org, and you can check out our website. A lot of benefits to our membership, to Tri-Club membership. I mean, just the discounts between the 3 clubs alone is amazing. Relatively easy, and it's it's not an expensive thing. And like Justin said, meetings are free. You come down, you get usually there's free beer there too. A member's got something, or there's a brew duel or something along those lines. So come check it out, and if you decide it's for us, then you can come give me your money. I'll take it for you.
Thank you very much, LIBME, the boys, Greg, Justin, and Ryan. Appreciate it. Bernie, a little bit about Homebrews and Hand Grenades. Where can people find you? How can people get in touch with you?
Sure. The Hand Grenades meet the third Tuesday every month. This month we're also at Sand City South. Got to jump on the new one coming in.
Oh yeah.
We're in talks with trying to get into Lost Farmer when they get open soon in Mineola. And bring it back into Nassau. We have a class this Sunday, the 11th, at South Shore, going over kettle sour beer.
Nice.
Mike Murphy, our education director, is running that one. And we do monthly events on education at the meetings. You can bring homebrew, get some feedback. Don't need to be a member. No one charges Justin. Man, come on. But you don't need to be a member to attend these meetings. Because of the pandemic, we sometimes do get limits in capacity, but those days hopefully are numbered. And we have social brew days, education, and a lot of competitions and opportunities to collab brew with other members of the club, whether you've been brewing for 24 hours or 24 years. You can find us at hhcbc.org. We're at Grenade Brigade on Instagram and Hand Grenades Homebrew and Craft Beer Club, the public page on Facebook, and Homebrews and Hand Grenades Craft Beer Club discussion group on Facebook. Anyone could join as well.
Cool. Kevin, Ken, anything to add to that?
Yeah, so festivals are coming back, people.
Yeah. We'll be at one on June 4th through June 6th down in AC Beer Fest. Boom, motherfucking boom.
There you go. Summer Craft Fest is going to be at Heckscher sometime in August.
Nice. We'll be there too.
We're gonna have Pour the Core Cider Festival, guys, in September. I know you guys. You want to be there for that one. But no, seriously, come see us at a festival. All 3 clubs will be there. All 3 clubs will be pouring beer. Come up and say hi.
Cool.
Drink some of our beer.
Fuck
And,
yeah.
Wales ales
come
and
to our
sausage
meetings
ales.
afterwards.
You will not be disappointed. I'll tell you, everything I've had tonight, delicious. Wouldn't even know it was a homebrew. It was right on par with everything that you can get at your local distributor or in a major brewery. So, excellent job, gentlemen. Ken?
Hey, like Kevin said, come to a fest. That's what it's all about. That's where we shine. It's where we do our best work. You'll have trouble walking away from the table.
Yes, that is
Be
true.
surprised when you throw in a bathtub.
The beer is great, but
Or in the backyard.
clubs lines, and you'll have trouble walking away from the table.
Justin, a little bit about beer.
Yes, so we meet every third Monday of every month. So this month it's going to be on the 19th. We're meeting at Belport Brewery. You can find us at beerhbc.org on the website, or we're also on Facebook and Instagram. Same thing. Once the festivals start happening, you'll definitely find us at a booth, probably next to Grenades and LIBME at the festivals. Sometimes we pour together, depending on how many members you can get. But probably the best way to find us is beerhbc.org.
Yeah, and of course, talk to Ryan about being a Tri-Club member and being part of all this, travel around, follow them wherever they're going to be. Their meetings held at local breweries and restaurants and bottle shops and all sorts of good stuff. And a lot of, like we said, networking and connections and friends to be had and ideas to be shared. I really appreciate all you guys for being on the show tonight, spending the time with us. Awesome time, awesome beer. Thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for having us.
Pete, Steve, any last words before we get out of here?
If when you wake up in the morning and you step on your sock, it shatters, it's time to get a girlfriend.
Yep, good point. Yeah, you're making valid points. Peter?
Don't forget if you have fucking
God.
cheers.
Yeah,
Cheers.
just say it. You got your.
I'm done.
All
No,
right.
It's over.
You Dow done did it, gentlemen. To Peter. Peter is just tonight with the homebrews. This is the Wort with Mike, Pete, and Steve. GovsRadio.com. Again, thank you everyone for checking us out. We will be on podcast form in the next 24 hours, and then in 2 weeks we got Beer Maker coming up, and you're gonna hear all about the machine and what they can do and what we're gonna be doing. And again, appreciate it for everyone hanging out. This is the Wort with Mike, Pete, and Steve. GovsRadio.com. And we're out.
Well, that's 2 hours of your life that you'll never get back.
Are you kidding me? Please hang up and try again.